Hello. So when we look at chord progressions, if you've read through this section, it might be going over your head a little bit, but the point of it is that typically and again, when we look at this, we're talking about what's called common practice music. This is music that was written in the 18th and 19th centuries is really what we're studying here. So when I talk about these rules and how the chords move, we're talking about hundreds of years ago. Now sometimes they're very much applicable today, and I'll kind of point that out when I do. But this is common practice, so you don't need to freak out if you happen to play piano or guitar and say, no, I do this chord to that chord all the time, it sounds awesome. We're talking about 18th century here. So with chord progressions, basically what this means is there are certain chords that like to go to other chords. 5 loves to go to 1, right? 2 likes to go to 5. There's all sorts of things that work this way, and this chart that you see right here kind of takes you through some of them. But let me just tell you, it's maybe a little bit overcomplicated, and chord progressions, this is not something that you have to really super worry about in high school, especially in Music Theory 1. What you need to understand are really the basics, kind of the no-nos and what happens basically. You can see here, 1 goes anywhere. Okay, it's the universal chord that takes you to the next chord. 5, it goes to 1. If it doesn't go to 1, it sometimes goes to 6, which is not drawn here. That's when we call it deceptive. You think it's going to go to 1, but it goes to 6. 4 likes to go to 5. 2 likes to go to 5. They can both go to 7 diminished, but more than likely what you're going to have is a chord progression where 2 or 4 go to 5, and then you go to 1. All right. Now, I'm not going to talk about this in great length because, again, it's a little bit further than where we need to be. I just kind of wanted to give you a little introduction of it before you left Theory 1. But when you write your composition for your final project, if you stick to 1 chords and 2 chords and 4 chords and 5 chords, maybe a 6 chord, you're golden. You don't need to worry about 3s. You don't really need to worry about 7 diminished unless you want to. You don't really even need to worry about 4 chords if you don't want to. But generally speaking, 1, 5, and occasionally 2. Let's look at this piece of music we just looked at. This is a masterwork for piano, and what did the composer use? 1, 1, 5, 1, 1, 1, 6, 5, 5 of 5, 5. If we kept going, 5, 5, 5 for days, right? So I just wanted to show you that composers they worked back then, and they still work primarily in 1, 5, 2s and 4s next most often, and then when they want to kind of get deceptive, they go to this 6. Okay, so I don't want you to feel like you have to use every chord in your arsenal. If the simpler you can make it, the better. If you just look at this great piece of music by Clementi, you'll see 1s and 5s are pretty much completely what dominate the texture.